And one of these is zakat that has for decades been neglected. People don't know what zakat, which zakat we're talking about. So he wants now to bring this responsibility. And this is what we talk about faith. How does the faith look like? It's easy to say, oh, I'll rely on Allah, Allah is Razak. But in your own life, when you are tested, how does that show? So some people, you know, they have $20,000 and you tell them pay zakat, they say, oh, I have only a little bit of money. It's easy for the rich people who have millions of dollars to pay zakat. They have a lot of money. And how much is zakat, by the way, in money? 2.5, which is 1 divided by 40. That's how you do it, right? So 1 part out of 40 parts is 2.5%, okay? So for every $40, you take $1. Anyway, so that person became rich after a while, millionaire. So now they say, okay, why don't you pay zakat now? It's easy for a poor person to pay zakat. He only has to pay a little bit. But you know how much my zakat is? I'm a millionaire. So people will always find excuse not to pay. So this mufti is introducing this to them. And so this rich person comes first year when he introduces to pay zakat, and he brings the money, and he's sweating. He can't separate from money. He's coming and his hand is shaking. He can't put the money. The money got so connected with the heart, he can't break the link. Anyway, he puts it. The next year, he is a bit more confident, he puts the money. And then the third year, he brings the money and throws. He mastered the heart. You understand? By giving up what you think is so important to you, you are training the heart. That's the whole point. The whole point of this life is to purify your soul, to purify it, and to cut that link with wealth and establish the link with everything that you, with one who is the provider, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why they have a saying in English, money is a great servant, but terrible master. You understand? When money is mastered over you and moves you, it commands you to do things, and you obeying. That's why we say it's great to have it in the hand, but not in your heart. Just like the water benefits from the water, a ship benefits from the water to go where it needs, as long as water is outside of the ship. The ship will not benefit from taking water inside. It will sink. And same the money. And so when we think about money or wealth, we think about it is the fitna. But what does that mean, fitna? Trial. What does that mean? A lot of people think, oh, I should not have money then. Or, whatever, it's dangerous. Well, fitna is just a trial. Your family could be fitna to you. Anything that you have could be fitna, your children, anything. It doesn't mean you abstain or you don't want it. It just means handle carefully. Just like you have a hot cup of coffee. What is going to say there? Caution. This coffee is hot. Handle with care. So the money is like that. Handle it appropriately. Learn about it. Understand it. Okay? And so what money then becomes? In which sense it's a fitna, trial? In a sense that it magnifies who you are. You understand? It's a magnifying glass that looks deeply into your heart and shows in a big resolution and a picture who you are. So it magnifies. If you are a generous person, the money will show that generosity. If you are a stingy, miserly, more wealth will show that side more. So whatever you are, more of that money will show more of you. The money just makes more of you. Whatever you are, it will make more of that. So be careful with that. Be careful with how you approach it. One of the main things and challenges that faces us is to what degree, especially young people, to what degree and when I sacrifice how much of my time to pursue the wealth. Don't get me wrong. there is a certain level of wealth that you have to have for basic needs. There is a number. I'm not going to say you need to earn, I don't know, this number to be okay. But there is a number that you need to earn to be okay in life. And the Prophet ﷺ used to say to the people, don't ask for money. It's better for you to cut some wood and sell in the market and become self-sufficient than beg from people. So don't beg. We don't want to beg from people. We don't want other people to feed us. We want to be able to take care of ourselves. So even the basic job, what would that be a job? Like Uber driving, whatever, I don't know. Like whatever basic job to meet your needs is important, okay? But then as you start going more and more, the same time that you spend on this, you need to spend on other things. The life becomes the balance. I say often to young people, often young people have a job that don't pay much. You know, when they reach, then I have sometimes a young couple, they get married, and the guy wants to, he just got married, he has full-time job, he has other things, plus on the weekend he wants to work 7 days. I said, is that really the best? Like, just so that next year maybe we go extra holiday or something like that. So I say, like, now we enter the zone of benefiting from and balancing other things. Because think of the time in the wealth. The time you needed to make it and to spend it. Is that the best use of your time now? Is it good to have all of your time? The time when early in the marriage you should be building a relationship, you should be knowing her, you should be learning more, your time could have many, many utilities. You understand? So balancing the time, what you need, because there are other things. Like some young men go to me and say, just for next 3 years, I finish civil engineering, whatever. I want to go to city, live by myself, and until I get a good this, then I marry, then I move back to home. Bro, what are you doing? This will speed up your career a couple of years. All right, but what are you gambling here with? What kind of lifestyle you might get in? You're settling yourself from the community just for the sake of you're putting yourself in a situation away from community, not building. And in fact, you know, most of the millionaires, one of the characteristics that they have in common is that they marry young. They say they marry their sweetheart from the high school or something. You know, somebody they fall in love in high school and they build life and there is a common trait. Often the woman is very, very good manager of the money. The money doesn't just go anywhere, you know, she knows, you know. So these people often build career, life, stability, you know. And she, of course, doesn't go for the guy who's just, I'm just going to do a few crypto trades and buy this meme coin and just next week we're going to have everything netted and everything sorted out. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants these get-rich-quick scheme money. Anything that is worth comes with skills, knowledge, building, patience, discipline, providing the solutions. You know, when we earn, we want to earn from something that has something that is deep, something that's benefiting people. Okay, so even in our careers, in what we are building, we're building stability. We don't want a volatility. We don't want uncertainty. We don't want quick stuff. So we want something that is stable, beneficial to the society, building a strong foundation, and we want to be connected with the community. We want to live around the mosque because the wealth is having that community. Like this, your life will pass, you will have the kids, they're asking, who do I marry? I don't know anybody. Yes, because you don't live in the community. Nobody knows your father, your mother. Who are you? You understand? Who are your friends going to be? Who your kids' friends? Who's going to know who? You are protecting your Islam with the family, with the community. The Islam is now protected in the community, in the family. That's the only way. So these all things are part of the wealth. We are all giving up bits and pieces to live stronger together and support each other. And through this we start balancing. Because what's interesting thing about the wealth and test, as I said. Sometimes you are giving something, sometimes something is taken. No one is given, let's say life you divide in several categories. Your health, your wealth, your relationships, whatever else is there, your time. No one has got 100% all. Like in a video game, you have your full-on, like mobile charger. No one has all of these 100%. Everybody's got a bit of it here and doesn't have something there. Somebody have money, doesn't have health. Somebody has time, doesn't have money. So you see two people cannot eat. One cannot buy it because he doesn't have money. Another one is sick, has a diabetes, can't eat it even if he can buy it. You understand? But both cannot eat. So it's in that circumstances where we kind of connect, and we could have most of the things we need if we work together. So this is a different kind of ways of looking at the world. But there is certain dimensions that we can do to increase some of these things that are not in the realm of just visible things. Sometimes we forget this faith, and I see a lot of my friends, sometimes they go through the terrible, they're rich, they're millionaires, suddenly they drop, they lose everything, or they have heart attack and something happened. And I talk to them and I'm like, how are you doing? What's happening? He says, I've never been better. But how? Like, you just lost everything and you're now working to rebuild everything from scratch and you're now like, he says, because I lost my way. You lose your way by chasing something. And so they find it extraordinarily grateful that they are now getting back. He says, if I was continuing the way I was, my family would be destroyed. Because this would get to my head. I would become like this. The worst of me would come out. I was not focusing on me. I was not focusing on others. I was arrogant. I was this. I didn't care. I didn't look. I didn't notice. I didn't pay attention to the family, to the kids, to the community, to myself. You understand? All of these things are very important to be aware of what you are doing, building, and how you do that. So I want to share with you an interesting story about this. And this is one of those components. Again, when we look at the world, there's a lot of things that are connected to each other. Obviously, I'm not even scratching the surface of how many layers this picture has, but here is the layer about noticing. So we started talking about first thing, about connecting yourself to Allah. That's number one thing. That's the original problem that we had. Connecting ourselves to Allah or to material. But key in that, it's easy to say, oh, from today I'm connecting, I'm doing that. Right, but how? How are you going to do that? Let me tell you a story that is all about first noticing these blessings, noticing what you have, right? Because what was the problem in paradise? It was not having enough. We had definitely enough. But our mind can play a trick where you think it's not enough, even when you have. So this is a story of the people of Musa who are very similar like us. So people of Musa, his people, very, very similar circumstances like us, in many, many regards. And subhanAllah, scholars say, there are so many times the Quran mentions the story of Musa that at that time companions thought that the Quran is going to become a story of Musa. Because how many times this story is being repeated. So let's see one of the stories. So as you know, these people live in terrible condition where dictator of their time is killing their male children brutally. They are enslaved in Egypt. It's terrible situation. Like what you're seeing now on the social media. Children being killed, arrest the slave. There is no hope. Forget it. Everybody is in prison. So they are running away from all of that, right? So Allah is saving them from this terrible situation that they are in. So now, as they are rescued, they are in a desert, so they're hungry, right? There's no Uber. I don't know if you know that time. There is no Uber Eats that time, right? So you have to work really hard. I can't just plug in a number. There's no Safeway, and it's not just the things have to grow, and somebody has to pick it up, deliver it. It's like a lot of things, in the background. So Allah saves them from this, gives them better than an Uber. From the heaven. Think of that. Allah delivers them from the heaven food. So that food, nothing that you have on earth can compare. Forget what you call the food. This is the earthly food. This is from the heaven food. So there are two different types of food that they are delivered from them. Nothing can match this food. Specially designed from heaven, Allah delivers to them. After He rescued them from slavery and being brutally murdered their children. Alright. What do you think? How do these people respond to this? Does anybody know what was their response to this?
They don't want it. They want normal food.
Right. They started complaining. They said, where is that other food we used to eat in the jail? Garlic, cucumbers. Like, what are you talking about? This is what you are longing for? Things that you used to eat when you were a slave? You don't recognize and you are not grateful for being rescued, but your mind box doesn't zoom out from all of this, and all you can think of is, when we were slaves, it was so great food in prison. What's wrong with these people? So Allah revealed in the verses which says that, in fact, before that, they were we cannot eat these kinds of things. And so Musa is saying to them, would you exchange what is better for what is lesser? So Allah reveals, He says that if you are grateful, I will increase you in favor. But if you deny, indeed my punishment is severe. So think of this situation now. Think of this, what Allah is saying to them. Allah provided them with a favor, like He does to all of us, all the time. Favor after favor. We are in fact showered everywhere with favors around us, just like in paradise. Okay? And He's saying, if you are grateful for these things, I will increase it for you. But if you are ungrateful, then my punishment is very, very close. I will decrease this for you. So think about this in our life. Think about this in our life. When we are challenged in something, when we go through something, what's the way? Do we become like these people? Oh, I wish I this and that and complain and blah. Or we turn in gratitude for what we have. Because if you want to increase what you want, definitely complaining about it is not going to bring you the increase. So what will bring the increase? How do you do that? Well, the core of these things is that you need to notice these things. You need to notice, you need to pause down. You need to pause down. You need to focus, and then you need to trust on it, that He is the one who will bring these kinds of things. And so, we could say a reality of this is that gratitude, shukr, gratitude unlocks the increase. So write that down. Gratitude unlocks the increase. So if you want something to be more, be grateful for that. Then that will unlock the increase for you. And one way to deal, because a lot of people in these situations, they have this stress, right? So it's not easy. And what is the stress really? Stress is really like your observation of reality, where this is where I am, this is where I want to be, and there is a gap. I don't know how to bridge this gap. Well, number one, how to bridge this gap is you are grateful so that Allah can increase so that they get smaller. But then there is your part. There is your part. Your part that you need to do something. Because the test is not in a sense of you are tested by not having or having something. The test is what you're going to do about it. How you're going to respond to that. Okay? It's okay to be afraid, but what you're going to do about it. So the Prophet ﷺ taught us dua to do that. So to bridge that gap. So you are grateful, you notice, why are you doing all of these things? Why are you noticing? Why are you grateful? Why not panic, cry, and oh my God, what am I going to do? Why? I mean, look at people in Gaza, you know, like nothing, zero, less than zero. Ground is gone. Ground is gone. Not above the ground, below the ground is gone. So there's no even tunnel coming in. There's nothing coming in. Do they complain? Do you see them complain? Like how do you do that? How do you do that? There is nothing coming for certain. There is nothing coming for certain. There is nothing coming. It's a blocked. Yet the faith, the response, everything is a completely different story. They are not complaining, and they are not even asking people. They said, enough is Allah for us. He is the best of those disposer of our affairs. Forget the other people, forget everything else, because they know. Because the taqwa is in knowing that Allah will provide us to provide to the birds who go out and they come back, somehow there is a food there. So the Prophet ﷺ is teaching us dua. How do we get ourselves from this situation that we are not overcome by these negative emotions when it comes to this? Because this is where Shaitan wants you. He wants you to be afraid, to tremble, to weaken in spirit and fall down. And then you reach for all the disobedience to get back up. That's the trick. To weaken you. How do you do opposite is with this dua. And this is a mindset, way of thinking about your surrounding. So the Prophet ﷺ said in this dua, which you all know, he said, and look at the things that are listed here. And look at the challenges that this one is dealing with. He says, oh Allah, I seek refuge in you from anxiety and sorrow, from weakness and laziness, from miserliness and cowardice, from burden of debt. This is a crushing burden of debt. And from being overpowered by others. This is about not being humiliated and made dependent on other people. Okay? Think about these situations that we are here. Anxiety, sorrow, weakness, laziness, miserliness, cowardice, debt, and being overpowered by others. These are the all things that paralyze the mind. These are the all things that make a person so worried that they are lacking the truth. And these are the situations that Muslim doesn't want to find himself. So one of the things, of course, we make dhikr, and we are trying to return our heart to peace. We do planning. Planning is very important. We also try to make sure that our income is from pure sources, so it has that blessing. You know, a lot of the time people don't think about that component of the barakah. How am I making the money? You know, we were told in some of the narrations that there was a man who was traveling, and you can see hardship of travel on this person, and he's making dua. And then Allah says, how will I respond to this person? What he eats, what he wears, everything is from haram. How will his dua be accepted? So this is the full circle. And on top of that, of course, thinking about simplicity of our life, clarity in our lifestyle, how do we live? And so, you know, when I think about this, going back to the beginning of the story, we started with the paradise, we had everything, and we are now on the earth, and we are supposed to give up on little bit. But you know, what I find in people is when you give up that little bit, when you give away, when you start training your heart to connect, to not be deceived by shaitan, you come to that stage where you really become a free person. It's very easy to live this life, and I tell you this last story that I know of a doctor who lived not far away from here. We visited this doctor, and he was retired. He had millions in bank account. He had cars. He had superannuation. I think a couple of houses that they were renting, and they were very wealthy. And me and my wife visited them, and my wife asked, like, how they're living, what's happening, and so on. And she said, you know, in the morning, me and my husband don't eat food. We skip the breakfast, and then for the lunch, we just take a little bit of butter on the bread. And my wife was like thinking, is this some kind of a diet or something like that? She says, no, it's not a diet. We are just afraid of poverty. We're just thinking, what if tomorrow we don't have enough? So think about these people are millionaires. They live houses, cars. They are eating a little bit of butter on the bread. And I was always thinking about that story. How can they be thinking, how is the first thought, you know, oh my God, if I lose this money, what's going to happen to me? How's that first thought? But it makes sense. Later it became clear to me. When you live life isolated, miserly, in this way, scared, what are you thinking? How's your mind working? You know, what do you do?
Become protective, overprotective.
Paranoid.
Think of it this way. You know, I remember when my daughter bought, I always tell the story, she bought first car, Honda Civic. Okay, I don't know the brands of the cars and stuff, you know, I'm not following that so much. So when she bought Honda Civic, I never seen that car on the road before, until that moment. When she bought it, I was seeing, that car was every day somewhere. I could see it every day in the traffic, somebody driving. I don't know if you've ever seen that, like, you get something, suddenly it's everywhere. Everybody's got that, like, come on, like, yesterday no one had it, now everybody has that. And that's that power of perception. What you focus and notice, it just comes to your eyes, right? And so, when you are miserly, when you live that lifestyle, what is it that you notice? People like that. So everywhere, who do you see? People who are selfish, miserly, just into themselves. So what do you start thinking? You think, my God, everybody is like that. If tomorrow I lose the money, all of these miserly people, who's going to help me? So that person lives already paralyzed life, that he has to fend for himself. Now think of that in the terms of person who is generous. That person lives in the community, volunteers their time, generous, builds up. I know during the COVID, sisters in our area had a WhatsApp group where they were giving food to anybody who was sick or need. And until today, they have these groups. You always see somebody's bringing food to somebody. And what do you think that lifestyle? Who do you see when you are with these people? You think, my goodness, everybody is so generous. And you think, if something happens to me tomorrow, it's okay. There are people who take care of me. So your outlook on life is so much different than the person who just sees misery. And that is what we are trying to achieve here. We are trying to achieve this sort of, not just to reduce this anxiety and stress that people do feel from the money, which is a trick of shaitan. But really what we want to do is that we want to use all of these bits and pieces and stack up what we have from wealth, from money, from giving, from everything. And we want really to resurrect that link with Allah. So really, ultimately, what you want is that you come to the situation whether genuinely somebody gives you this money or that money is taken away from you. Your heart really doesn't move. You understand that? You are not affected. Your faith is not challenged by you having more or less. You're not linking with the numbers in your bank account. Sure, you work, we want to build, and as a society, we need to have institutions, solve the problems, schools, whatever. We need to have what we need to have. We need to be a strong community, earn, solve the problem, have skills, and so on. This is no doubt about it. We cannot be a community that is in that ship, lower community that can't take care of itself, and then somebody determined to drill our holes and sink us and manage us. No, we cannot be that group of people. Islam doesn't want, Islam wants us to be upper hand. But there is more components. We don't want to be that group of people where the money become our master. All right, I'll stop there. And I'll give you a couple of minutes, maybe if you have any questions, and then we'll continue, inshallah, next week. So I'll open to you if you have any questions about this topic, and then we'll, inshallah, start to wrap up. Any questions? Yes.
So you mentioned something about how you separate money from your iman. But can't we look at it another way where when you actually are losing money and not having enough money to pay the bills, wouldn't that bring you back to Allah and like work towards your iman actually? And even though when you have that mentality, even when you have a lot of money, it's also a responsibility. Because we asked about it, so it could also work. You can relate it in a way to work towards your iman and make it better.
Of course, you should always try to find, and a lot of people, as I mentioned, when they go through the challenge, it does increase them in faith. Their faith reaction is that they become much more conscious of circumstance. Now, that doesn't mean that that state of weakness is desirable. We don't want to be in state of weakness, right? Specifically, when it comes to the losing of the wealth, it's a very dangerous situation. There was a student of Abu Hanifa, Muhammad Shibani. He was one day in a circle of knowledge, and one of the servants, house servants, came, and she said, "Oh Imam, there is no flour in the house anymore. You know, to make a bread, some basic things are missing." And he said, "Oh, such and such, this statement made me forget 70 issues of jurisprudence." And he said, "Imam or judge who doesn't have a flour in the house should excuse himself from being a judge in the case, because his mind is preoccupied with something fundamental." And so scholars used to say that poverty can become to the people like something that in the night go and sleeps in bed with them, and it tempts them out of the faith. So the poverty has that effect. Poverty can have that effect. So we don't want that. And so there has to be, for the average person, because we have a different life. It's not like before. Our life is much more structured, you know. In the olden days, if you don't have money, you go to market, Medina, just put something in the morning and you have a shop and you start trading, you trade, you make money, go home and you're done. Now you can't do that. You know, you can't just come in the shopping center and say, "Oh, who's going to buy this?" Then it's like everything is much more deeper, structured. You know, you need to have a plan and things like that. So that's why even anxiety and everything increases. So we don't want to have weakness, but at the same time, we don't want weakness to overpower us. And yes, looking at it as a trial, as something that, you know, at least we are tested in money, not in faith. All of the ways to get ourselves. But what I was trying to say with having or not having money impact us is that we are not slave to it. We don't tie our heart to debt. We tie our heart to the owner of the old that we say Allah is the one who is the provider. You know, all of that to make us less paralyzed, but more geared towards what can I now do? You know, like what do I need to do to get ready? As the Prophet ﷺ said to this person, you know, chop some wood and go and sell it to the market. Do something to get yourself out of that circumstance. Don't allow yourself to be helpless. You know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Jazakallah khair.
Yeah.
I've just got a question. How would you go about all of the information that we're going through, like in your 20s, when you're trying to build yourself up? How would you kind of adopt that mindset of having, I guess, an abundant mindset where you're not afraid, and you love to give and everything? How would you do that in your life in your 20s?
Alright, so if I was 20s, and I have, as I said, my kids are in that age,
MashaAllah.
you know, this is what I say to them. I would say there is that you cannot just think about money now. Money cannot be your only focus now. I get it, 20, you want to have all of these things, and often guys think, oh, I need to have this. They often think 3 times more than they need to get married. But let's say whether we're getting married or starting, I would say now, at this point in time, specific to this age group, sure, have job, work. But try to learn something that you are really, you have something, some knowledge and skill where your job can really make a difference. It's a worthwhile job. Invest in yourself. That's number one thing. In your skills, what you can be. Don't think like some guys say, oh, I have a couple of $1,000, this stock, should I buy Tesla or BYD now that Tesla is going down? Don't worry about it, you know. Treat everything as learning for you. Even if you want to buy some stock or if you want to buy whatever, everything is now learning for you. It's not about you're going to make money out of it. Buy a little bit here and there, but try to be disciplined, try to learn, try to get some good job, you know, try to get some foundation. Definitely marry as soon as possible. Marry and start your life, you know. Start your life, even don't worry about buying immediately a house, like rent a house, you know, just focus on living in a good neighborhood. Where is the community? Who are the people I want to live with? You know? Pick somebody who shares these values, who is content, you can build a life, you know, and for the girl, you know, somebody who is disciplined, who's not gonna be just chasing the next thing, you know. If he's trading crypto, don't marry. Right? That's just a rule of thumb. You know, if he's into these kind of shenanigans, you know.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand. I just wanted to add on to that. What if you've gone past that? What if you already have those skills, and what if you're able to get married at the moment? What I'm trying to say is, what if you're someone that wants to provide for his parents,
Sure.
and everything?
Of course, very important, very important. So this is the core of man. He is the most happy when he can do that, and he should be able to do that. Work on yourself. It's whatever this is going to be. It's going to be some real knowledge and skill that benefits people. And it's going to be slow wealth. This is the game we are in. We are in the game of the slow wealth. Anybody who is in a get rich quick, he's in a different race. That's a gambler. That's a speculator. That's non-dependable person. That person is the catching up on video games and the stupid things he did in life in a quick way by doing more foolish things. That's another guy who's going to be Kawan, a leader of the community, sorting the problem. The girl is not going to calm herself down. You know, she's going to have a baby crying, and he's going to be another stupid thing on another stupid thing, like it's going to be a mess. So if you are the guy, stop that. Stop that. Focus on the mission, the goal, the task, the leadership. You understand? These are the serious issues. Build a life with somebody who is like that, who we can depend, who has a big aspiration, big goals. But don't just make it about money. Don't sacrifice everything. Because now you have so many things that you need to, with the time, establish. Learn your deen, learn that other person you are married, build your life, build the simplicity, explore, volunteer. There is so many things that will make your life rich. Because at this time, your every additional, let's say you are earning enough to sustain, every additional life, you're just being paid 20, 30 bucks. It's not a lot. Now there is so much that you can do. And so this is my genuine advice. Invest life in yourself, in the relationship, in the things, learn, explore, see, volunteer, go, do something that really makes you more of a better person. Because that will be a fundamental wealth. Just saying, my career is going to be 2 years accelerated, or I'm going to 5 months better this or that, why you are in the rush? Don't worry about that. That will come, believe me. These things will come. So this will be just genuinely what I see if you want to build solid foundation in the career and so on. I could tell you even an example of the very rich people. Look at it. I was just watching yesterday the 60th press conference of Warren Buffett, one of the best considered investors. He's 95, I think he is. He's got one of the most valuable company in the world, Berkshire Hathaway. And he's 60th. He's considered the best investor. He still lives in the house in Omaha that he purchased for $30,000 and he had nothing. Still living in that house. Still drive normal car. The guy has the billions and stuff. Bill Gates, he gives Bill Gates money. He says, I value my time with Bill Gates just to play cards or whatever they play, more than any of these, there is some things that later on you learn to value and you realize that the most valuable things in life are things you wouldn't sell for money. So invest in those things now, because those are the things later that will just increase in value.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for allowing me. Assalamu alaikum.